Welcome to today's forum of the City Club of Cleveland. My name is Ralph Delarada. I've got the pleasure of being your president for this year. The City Club of Cleveland was originally established in 1912, and it was established to encourage new ideas and a free exchange of thought in our city. We are the oldest continuous free-speaking forum in the United States today. We have a long and storied tradition of free speech exercised through public debate and discussion. Today, the City Club is an organization where its diverse members participate in wide-ranging, high-quality forums, as well as simply enjoying great camaraderie. We are a civic center where the Cleveland community comes together each and every week to encounter and challenge important ideas. And lastly, we're an electronic forum, open not only to our country, but to the world as a whole. Our speaker today is a distinguished individual who has played a pivotal role in China's diplomatic history. He has witnessed China's emergence into a powerful and influential nation from a unique internal vantage point. Our guest is Ambassador Chaozhu, who served as the chief English interpreter in the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs, among other notable positions in that department. Ambassador Xi has had a fascinating life, which he writes about in his memoir, which I just recently read, called The Man on Mao's Right. I recommend it highly to all of you. He is not exaggerating. He is an invaluable translator for the People's Republic of China. Ambassador Xi often found himself on Mao Zedong's right hand during both secretive meetings and in important press-worthy occasions. A native of Taiyuan, China, Xi and his family fled their home ahead of Imperial Japan's advancing army in 1937. They eventually settled in New York City 2 years later when Xi was 9 years old. He went on to attend Harvard University, but left during his sophomore year to serve his native homeland after the start of the Korean War. The People's Republic of China, or the PRC, soon recognized Mr. Xi's flawless English as a valuable asset, and he was recruited to become Prime Minister Zhou Enlai's English interpreter. Xi spent 2 decades as a close aide to Zhou, during which he traveled to important international events and frequently served as an interpreter for the infamous PRC chairman Mao Zedong. Mr. Xi translated in pivotal moments such as the secret meetings between important Chinese diplomats and Henry Kissinger, and later during President Nixon's visit in 1972. In 1973, he was chosen by Zhou to lead the first diplomatic mission to the U.S. He was integral in establishing and overseeing the instatement of full diplomatic relations with the United States. Ambassador Xi also served as interpreter for Mao Zedong's last 2 official visits with English-speaking dignitaries in 1976, just months before the chairman's death. He then interpreted for Mao's successor, Deng Xiaoping, including during his historic 1979 visit to the U.S., when the New York Times noted that Xi was the only present official capable of interpreting from English to Chinese and called him indispensable. In 1982, he was appointed Minister Counselor of the PRC's embassy in the United States. He then served as China's ambassador to Fiji, Kiribati, Vanuatu, and the United Kingdom. He impressively concluded his governmental career as the Undersecretary General of the United Nations from 1991 to 1996, and then served as Vice President of the All China Federation of Returned Overseas Chinese. In essence, he was the most important Chinese national in our country at that time. He currently lives in China with his wife Wang, and together they have 2 sons. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to introduce this important diplomat who has witnessed some of the seminal events in modern Chinese history and is widely respected by both U.S. and Chinese leaders, amongst others. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Xi Chaozhu to the City Club.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm indeed very much honored to be asked to come here amongst all of these wonderful friends and to say a few words about this book of ours, which we had just published some less than a year ago, and there it is. Well, in order to allure you to all come in and purchasing this wonderful book, let me just say a few words just to entice you a little bit further. For me, how is it that I came to write such a book? It's because that I had a very extraordinary life, starting from escaping from the terrible Japanese invaders and then running out of our country altogether, and literally went to your good country as refugees from my father, my mother, my brother, and I was the smallest of the small. And the very moment that we were arriving on the shores of the United States of America, you Americans showed the greatest friendship and goodness to this little family of so-called immigrants. And we were all children were all admitted into wonderful schools. For instance, my sister and I went into Seton Country School, and then after Seton Country School, I went on to Horace Mann Lincoln High School, and then from there, I had already decided how I would have a life in the future, and that was to always strive for the best and nothing but the best. And so I decided that after graduation from Horace Mann Lincoln, I certainly must go to the best university, and that is, of course, Harvard. And I got into Harvard, too, with a very generous scholarship. And then I thought that this is wonderful. From henceforth, I'm going to have a very happy, peaceful life, but unfortunately, that wasn't to be the case. In the summer of 1950, the Korean War suddenly broke out. It had nothing to do with China at the beginning, but China got involved into it, and the whole thing seemed to go from bad to worse. And under those circumstances, it appeared that the two countries that I love the most, my country China and my adopted country, the United States of America, might enter into war between themselves. It was a very sad situation, but then after repeatedly thinking this over while at Harvard, I came to the conclusion that, well, I love America, but I love also China, and I was born in China, I'm a Chinese, I must go back to my homeland. So I gave up Harvard, and back I went to my native land. And there I volunteered to fight in Korea, to fight the very wonderful people here from America. But I convinced myself that I'm a Chinese, I must stand on the side of China, so off I went. But happily, when I did go to Korea, I was not going into battle, but because I grew up in the States, my English was very good, and so the authorities told me to become a stenographer in English, so that when the two sides started negotiating, I could very quickly note down all the words spoken by you guys, and then have it translated into Chinese, and then for our side to hurl back the unfortunate words to you guys. But nevertheless, it did play a role, because those negotiating meetings eventually did bring about a peaceful settlement. And I went back to China, and then my intention was to go to the chemistry labs, because my father had told me all along that, well, we are from Shanxi province. Shanxi is very wealthy in coal resources, but we're technically underdeveloped. If we can bring about the comprehensive uses of the vast coal resources in our province of Shanxi, we Shanxi people will become rich, and you will be doing a wonderful service. So I decided, well, okay, I'll go to Shanxi and dig the coal, and then work on the scientific development of the coal resources.